Hello there. Have you ever wanted to become a monk? How about an emperor? Well, no need to fret, because you can become both in Crusader Kings 3, as I have found out. I did it without any mods, add-ons, glitches, or anything. All I did was play a game in which I created the most overpowered character. That character does not matter in this story as much as you would want. Or not. Not want. But I have to say, this was an interesting story about how a Holy Roman Emperor conquered, a good portion of Europe. It all started with my very first character. Well, not my first character, but the first character I really enjoyed playing. Just because I found it so hilarious. Let's go to it. Kaiser Wolf. A very, very old individual. 138. I made him to be the peak human being. Just for the fun. None of it, just for fun. Didn't expect him to live. Made him 120. The maximum age I could get to him. And I gave him the largest sum of children I could possibly give. All of them being sons, so they would all inherit something. Or so I thought. I was wrong. Most of them died before I could even die. Living for 18 plus years can surely do that once your sons are all around 50, 100. They start dying. The older dies first, the stress then kills the rest. Very few of them survive long enough to even inherit anything. That's where it starts to get interesting. Is with all of these sons, next to none of them inherited the throne. Mainly because only, I believe, 2 of them were even alive enough to inherit it. But that's not where this video is about. It's all about Kaiser Hermann, the monk. Now how did that happen? Monks, one of the key points about them is they can't inherit titles, nor may they marry. Well, that's the key word. They may not inherit titles. Well, that's where it gets interesting. What if there was let's say a faction that wants to install them? Well, they cannot join the faction as they're a monk, but they don't need to. A claimant faction doesn't need the individual to be a part of it. All they need is to support one individual. Key thing is, that individual most likely would be an heir to the throne. They need a claim. If they have no claim, what's the point? Well, first things first, in order for that, the Kaiser at the time, Helrich, had to be a pretty terrible individual. And I made him terrible because I decided I wanted to try that North Korean strategy I've heard so much about. Pretty much just owning everything and leaving nothing for, well, no one, because no one would be left alive. They're not needed. I pretty much retook every title that I could. Multiple revolutions happened, multiple independence happened, liberations, liberty factions, all sorts of things. Every single one of them squashed, imprisoned, extracted their titles, and then executed. That made me incredibly hated. I went, wow, this guy's so hated, they all trying to install a monk. Going, you know what? I've never seen that happen. And he was one of the characters I really wanted to play as I've never played a monk. So what I decided to do was allowed. I just went, nah, allowed. Ah, yeah, sure. Well, Harmon can become Kaiser. And that's how I did it. I figured it out. The impossible feat of becoming a monk Kaiser, or just a monk ruler, is simply make your son a monk. And I didn't even do that. He just became a monk on his own. He wasn't supposed to inherit the title. He had 3 brothers who was in front of him and a sister. He was the youngest out of all of them. And yet, he inherited it all just because they all died. You got execution, execution, and execution. Rebellions can do that to them. Mysterious. After each and every single one of them had their titles retracted and were executed, I became Kaiser. And I didn't quit being North Korea, and that might have ended poorly. As later down the line, well, I died. And this one right here, in about 2 years, once my character dies, good old Stefan will become the Kaiser. And it just goes all downhill as he's a little 5-year-old. At that time, he will be 7. Very hard to rule over around, a few 98 duchies and kingdoms and empire. It's kind of hard to do that, especially when all these titles get split up. Screws over everyone in the end. Good times. Fantastic. But I figured it out. I had a whole lot of fun messing around with this system. I hope you had fun too, listening to my story. I'll see you all another time.